Hello and welcome once again. So I'm going to do a video here, pretty brief video just to kind of summarize about protein and about why protein is not necessary. I want to repeat, protein is really not necessary. Small amounts is all the body really needs. It's the amino acids, and I'm going to get into that here very shortly. I get a lot of people that email me. It's on a constant basis. How do I get protein? I have to eat chicken. I have to eat eggs. I have to eat this. I'm going to lose all of my muscle. So we're going to get into that right now so you can understand this. And I promise you there's not a lot of information out there on this. Unfortunately, there's reasons for that. And if people all think they have to eat eggs, chicken, beef, and all of these other sources that quote-unquote contain protein, then people will continue to buy them. If people know that this can come from many other sources and the body doesn't care where they come from as long as you're getting them in the right amounts, then you'll be fine. And it's, again, the amino acids. Let's talk about this. Two of the myths about vegetarian diets which concern protein. And this is very common. It is hard to get enough protein on a vegetarian diet. Plant protein does not contain all essential amino acids, and you have to carefully combine plant foods in your diet in order to get the right protein. Alright? Now, what this means is, basically, people are really confused. They think they have to have an egg, and I'm going to kind of show a little bit more detail about this. But the lysine, which is one of the amino acids that make up a whole chain here of being a complete protein source, are the same whether it's in beans or eggs. It doesn't really matter. And I'm not a fan of beans to begin with. They're very hard on the body and they're hard to digest with that particular type of food. But that was just an example. The powders that I've mentioned in other videos give you all the amino acids. The only thing the powders are really lacking is calcium, and that's why you need to have the chia powder, and you need to put other things in your diet such as maybe some fresh figs, collard greens, all those, dandelion greens, broccoli, all those are much higher in calcium. But as far as the amino acids, because calcium is not a part of the amino acid chain, but it's still a very important nutrient. So if you're relying just on the powders, you're going to get pretty much everything else, vitamin C, iron, beta-carotene, but you're not going to get calcium. But you can definitely fulfill those requirements. So in this example, this is why people are so confused, but plant sources, the right ones, are really important. So basically, what is protein? Okay, protein is one of three macronutrients completely identified as a dietary requirement. Okay? It represents nitrogen-containing compounds for which amino acids are the basic structural units. Okay? Amino acids are small organic compounds containing at least one amino acid group and an organic acid group. The differences between amino acids lies in the difference between the amino acid side chains. Okay? So, proteins are the most abundant organic compound of the body. More than fat, usually. So, much more than carbohydrate. About 65% of the total body protein lies in skeletal muscles. Okay, so this is where people get confused. They think they're going to waste away. And it also has the primary function in the growth and repair of body tissue. Just about every cell in the body has a protein component, and we are able to synthesize new cells without the requirement, or actually, sorry, without the requisite building blocks. And basically, your hair, nails, skin contain protein, blood contains plasma proteins, hemoglobin has a protein component. Proteins are components of some of the antibodies. Many hormones are proteins like insulin. In fact, the protein content of the average cell is 16% of the total mass. Okay? And there's about 50,000 different proteins in our bodies. So what does this all mean? Alright, so protein can also be recycled. So this is what I'm going to get into here. And we recycle this basically daily. And the whole point here is that how much protein do we really need? You know, we lose protein every day, and it's going to talk about here about 56 grams of protein are needed. And, you know, how is this arrived with, you know, basically how, you know, what really is necessary for the body. And the whole point here is the protein requirement is not really for protein per se. Let's highlight again. The protein requirement is not really for protein per se, but amino acids. Look at this. Right there. So, but for amino acids. So, we basically break down all protein we eat into its basically an amino acid. Alright? And then it's going to be absorbed basically in that fashion. And I'm trying to just summarize this because I don't want to keep going over this over and over and over. That's why diabetics can't just take insulin orally. So what I want to highlight here is we really need to get the 8 essential amino acids from diet. And it doesn't matter where they come from. Again, we really need to get 8 essential amino acids from our diet, and it doesn't matter where they come from. The often quoted protein quality has nothing to do with the amino acid quality. Lysine from beans has the same chemical structure as lysine from eggs. And I just highlighted on this before I even got to that point. So it doesn't matter. People are just so misled out there, and they don't really understand what is going on, and they're just following all of this nonsense. And it's saying right here that, you know, the average person, about 240 grams of protein is synthesized, and it's basically degraded daily. This process requires about 260 grams of amino acid, and about 1/6 must come from the diet. Okay? This is how they came up to that number of the, you know, 50, 57, right around that range. So this means only about 1/6 of the amino acid is released, and basically this particular proteins are not recycled. Where does the protein come from? Alright? And then it talks about all of this, and it's going to talk about from the digestive juices, it's going to talk about from the intestinal, you know, the breakdown of muscle and other tissues. So I don't want to confuse a lot of people here, so I'm just kind of basically showing everybody all of this information so people really understand what is going on, and that protein is really not, and it's going to kind of show a chart here. These are all the amino acids, and I know people on here really focus, if they have some disease, they're focusing on lysine. It's just an amino acid. There's many other ones, just one is not going to help. So if you're eating foods that contain all amino acids, such as goji berries, the antioxidant powders are full of amino acids and trace minerals, as well as goji berries. Hemp seeds are a full, complete protein source. So some of them may be missing one, but it doesn't mean you can't get it from other parts of your diet. So this is the whole point of this video. You don't need to eat all of these particular sources of, you know, beef, chicken, and you're not going to waste away. We have so many people that are underweight. We put them on the powders, we put them on a plant-based diet, and they gain weight and they gain muscle. Why is that? Because they're giving exactly what is shown in this video. And again, what I'm highlighting here in this article is what you need to do. So the minimum protein requirement, I'm going to kind of end on this note, is between 0.3 and 0.4 grams. Alright? And this is basically what you need. There's people that are consuming, because they, you know, they're in fitness, and this may apply to you, or can really apply to anyone. They think that they need 1 gram or 1.5 grams of protein per body weight. And that's such a misconception, because that's not true. You could get 50 grams total of just a little bit of protein that's already in most of the foods anyways, but make sure you get all your amino acids, and you do that with a higher amount, and you're going to gain far more than somebody that's eating 1 gram or 1.5 grams per body weight. Why is that? Well, I just explained that. And everyone should understand this. This is, I know, maybe a little more complex, and I'm trying to make this very simple for people, but the whole point here is you don't really need to deal with all this protein. You don't really need it from animal products. Any questions, go ahead and let me know. Thank you.